is there anything, as you went, or as your group went around the state and listened to people, did you hear anything that you would tell the commission got to be on that list, or it's a dead duck before it ever gets to the polls?
Yes. I understand very well the way the department selects projects. It's a very in-depth process that involves planning folks all over the state. So what we heard as we went around the state was pretty much a list that was important to whoever happened to be speaking at the microphone. That helps because that kind of sets the parameters of how big the needs are, which, by the way, are much bigger than the $700 million that Rudy's talking about. But there is a process that MoDOT has that works very well. It's been working for the past 7 years through the Amendment 3, and it has a lot of input from local folks, and they to prioritize what needs to be spent in their area. And the way the commission divvies money up, it goes through a formula, so each of the 7 MoDOT districts will know beforehand how much money they'll have in year 1, how much in year 2, how much in year 3, all the way through the 10 years, and they'll decide where that money needs to be spent. That's the best way to be inclusive, in my opinion, and for us to dictate through the blue ribbon panel would be hurting that process, and that process is very, very effective.
Bill, how will you counter the argument that this hurts the low-income people the most when you raise the sales tax?
Well, since, and I know this very well from 1997, sales tax isn't charged on food anymore. It's not charged on prescription drugs, which are 2 basic things that all Missourians need. So that argument, which used to really be prevalent years ago, I don't think is as important today. And no matter who you are, the sales tax is broad-based. Everybody that buys a shirt or anything else besides food and prescription drugs, that commodity got to them because of a good infrastructure system, and they'll all be paying, but they'll all be benefiting from it. I think a sales tax is probably the most fair.
Question for Mr. Meehan. Your organization handed out a release, I believe, yesterday after the news conference at the Capitol in support of the bonding program. I am going to assume by your presence here today that you have a position of support for this program as well, and obviously there could be some overlap. Is that a problem? I mean, where exactly does the chamber come down on funding highways and transportation?
There could be some overlap. Like Senator Keough said in our conference, there's a lot of discussions going on, and we'll have to see exactly what that final product is to take a look at. But we're absolutely supportive of the fact that transportation infrastructure will build our economy in Missouri. It's absolutely essential. And we've been having this conversation for a long time. What you're hearing today is very real action that the legislature's looking at, that will be in front of the voters to take a look at. And we like the conversation, so we're excited about the prospects that it has.
Which approach, though, does the chamber prefer, a bonding approach or a tax approach?
Really, we have to look at both of them. We supported the bonding proposal, but we're supporting investment in transportation. So it can come in different ways.
Would you prefer that the bonding proposal essentially go to building structures, and then something like this tax proposal go to the transportation issue?
We'll have to check that out, Bob, but the bonding proposal, we have a plank in our platform, if you will, supporting a bonding proposal at this time.
Representative Schatz, yes. Can you step up? Can you sell this to your chamber? Can you sell this to your constituents?
I'm very optimistic that we can. I think there's a great understanding if we're going to have job creation growth, and some of the key elements that we've talked about and what we're going to focus in on this is energy and things that our caucus positions are. This is part of that. And so the best way that we can have job creation, job growth is having the infrastructure in place, low energy cost, and having access so that we can attract employers to our state. I do believe that we have to address this issue, and I think that we can. I think I'm very optimistic we can move this through, working together with the Senate. I think we can make this happen, so I'm very optimistic.
You're not afraid of being accused of raising taxes?
Well, again, we're putting it to the vote of the people. And we're going to give them the opportunity to make that decision. So I think that's very clear. But I do think it's an issue that has to come before the legislature. We need to act on it and get it out to the people because we have transportation needs. If we're going to grow this economy in the state of Missouri and take advantage of our geographic opportunities that we have here, we've got to work on our infrastructure. And that access will bring job creators to this state, and it'll take care of some of the problems we have.
Do you think that this plan is that the plan you would choose as far as addressing the transportation?
This would be my approach. I mean, I've looked at this a long time. The bonding aspect of it only prolongs the problem. There's no funding mechanism that allows it, to pay. Again, we're just borrowing money with no funding mechanism in place to pay off that bond. And so if we really want to address the need, we have to go about it a different way. Because we can see with the gas tax and how things and the diminished amount of gas is being purchased, and some of the mandates are coming down from the federal government as to the MP miles per gallon restrictions and things. We can only see that continuing that funding resource to go down. So there has to be an alternative to that. And I think that a dedicated sales tax obviously is a good way to have a steady revenue stream that we can count on, and we can maintain our roads and bridges as necessary.
Senator Keogh, when do you intend to file this, and how many co-sponsors do you have lined up?
We are kind of drafting the legislation now. We're working with a lot of the stakeholders, industry partners, and making sure that we put the right piece through. I'm happy to have Senator McKenna's son, Ryan, has been very involved, as Representative Henson has been on the House side, and Representative Schatz. We're thinking in the next maybe 10 days or so. We're trying to fine-tune a few pieces. I've talked to many of my senators, I think, in the House and the Senate. Both Speaker Jones and Senator Dempsey have said for months now that building and infrastructure is something that they're interested in doing, and this is a piece of that conversation. That's not to say that either one of those are signing on or supporting anything, but in general, they say that they want to support infrastructure development. I believe there's a lot of folks on the Senate side that will want to support the same.
Is your toll road proposal dead?
Well, the toll road conversation is really how we got here. That's what started last year, as you know, and it really brought the level of Missouri's transportation needs up to a level that the public starts seeing and reading about it. About 60% of Missouri's population lives within 30 miles of I-70, so when you start talking about tolling I-70, although the concept is a good way to possibly pay for infrastructure improvements, a lot of people weighed in and said, hey, we know there's a problem. Let's look at all the different options and solutions that are out there. So from that conversation, we led to this potential funding mechanism.
Given the pressure to reduce income taxes, do you think you're going to get wedded to any offsetting tax cuts?
Well, Senator Lamping, as you may know, has a proposal out there that is a half-cent dedicated sales tax with an offsetted income tax cut out of GR. So that's a conversation that's going on. But as Chairman Farber said, the good news is a lot of people are talking about trying to figure out a way to fund transportation. So I'm sure all these conversations will work their way through the legislature, and representatives and senators will figure out what they think in their leadership position is the best thing to move forward for the state.
Is there a danger that we too many options and you can't settle on any one of them?
No, I don't think that. I know all the people who have talked about the different proposals. They're aware that I have a concept of this proposal, and the conversations have been very productive, very forthcoming. I really like the makeup of the House and Senate this year with folks that are actually working together to move things forward. I mean, we've talked about jobs and infrastructure for years now, and I think everybody is ready, as well as the citizens are ready to turn that into action.
Are there major differences in what you're planning to file and what is in front of us here, as far as?
Conceptually, I don't think there'll be major differences. As Senator McKenna, Commissioner McKenna said, our proposal would be, the 1 cent sales tax in general. A piece of that would go back to cities and counties for them to use for transportation-related projects. It would not be a tax on food or prescription drugs, and it would have a sunset component to it. So I call it a limited time investment to the infrastructure needs. It would have a reportability, accountability piece to it where MoDOT would have to report to the legislature and to the governor on how these projects are coming. And it would also include maybe a component that we've learned through the Blue Ribbon panel and some of the polling data we've received that would freeze the gas tax. So Missourians would know during this 10-year period the legislature, our governor, elected officials couldn't go and raise the gas tax as well. It would be an agreement to freeze that. So there's some safety provisions in there, some good consumer protections, and I think some real deliverables for Missourians to enjoy.
Do you support Senator Schaefer's separate bond issue for buildings, or could that detract from getting this?
No, I think those are companion conversations. Again, both of those things lead to infrastructure improvements. One's horizontal, one's vertical. Senator Schaefer and I have a lot of conversations about this. Obviously, one of the projects Chairman Farber talked about, I-70, runs right through his district. But his bonding proposal mainly is intended for vertical structures, whether that be buildings on various universities, parks, mental health facilities. Fulton would be a good example. You know, state capital improvements. Those are the types of bonding ideas that he has in that proposal.
Is that a yes?
What's that?
Do you support that?
Yes, I do support that. I think the time is right for that. I think the bonding costs are incredibly reasonable, and construction costs, companies, whether it's vertical or horizontal, are very aggressive. When I was on the commission, a $10 million project might have 2 or 3 bidders on it. Now I would say they have 12 bidders, maybe 16. So there's people out there that really want to work. And so I think you're going to get the best value for the citizens right now in both of these proposals, whether it's Kurt's bonding proposal or a potential funding for transportation.
Can they both win voter approval?
Well, you know, it gets to be a crowded ballot, doesn't it? But I think as the conversations unfold, Missourians will figure out what they want to do. Obviously, a bonding proposal is funded through current GR. They'll obviously use the existing funds they've been using for the fourth state bond that they're just paying off now. So that won't be a tax increase per se to the voters. We'll be using existing resources and general revenue to fulfill the obligation of those bonds.
We're going to have to resume the conference here shortly. So
before we go, I would like to call on Grace Nichols to make a remark.
I just wanted to respond to the question about the role of the commission and whether they were supporting this or not. There are 5 members of the commission, and we've done nothing but talk and learn about this issue for a couple of years. And so I can say without any hesitation that all 5 commissioners are very enthusiastic about moving forward and see their role as the Highway Commission as a leadership role to make sure that transportation grows in Missouri.
I just look forward to the opportunity to work with Representative Schatz and Senator Kehoe and Senator McKenna to move this forward. I've sat on the Transportation Committee for the past 2 years, and we definitely have issues, whether it's the 50-year-old bridge out in rural Missouri or the deteriorating roads in the urban areas. So this is a good plan that I look forward to us moving forward and working with the citizens of the state to support this plan, because it'll affect each and every one of them in every corner of the state.
Have you rounded up the flag to let your caucus in?
I have polled some of my members that I would say are the ultra conservatives, and they've given me the green light. And so that's when we started having more serious conversations, Senator Kehoe and I did. And, you know, we got a lot of behind-the-scenes work to do still yet, but I think we've done a lot of it so far.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to close by thanking you all for being here and leave you with one remark. Like the automobile that doesn't get serviced, you'll either pay me now or you'll pay me later. And now is the time for us to step up and put oil in the engine, because otherwise it's going to be very costly. Thank you again.